we are here and excited to hear Nicole and I back for the first time in several months together. Feels good.
It does. I feel like it's been a lot longer than a month.
Yeah, for a few months. It might have been like 2 months.
Was it?
Something like that. But hey, look, if you can see and hear us okay, drop an I in the comments, just the letter I, or you could spell it out if you like. Just let us know that you can see us and hear us. If it's your first time tuning in, let us know where you're watching from. Always like to know when we have new people.
I'm going to pull it up too.
Okay. Let me know.
Watch.
So if you can see and hear us okay, drop an I in the comments below. Let us know that we're coming through okay. Again, if it's your first time watching, let us know where you're tuning in from. But tonight we are going to talk about a very important topic. We're going to talk about beauty, real beauty.
Yep. I love this.
And the balance between what our humanity craves versus how God wants us to look at people. I thought that was really brilliant, really, the way that Jenna kind of coined that.
I know. I think she's dead on when she writes some of her stuff. She's just so impressive at the way she can like wordsmith the moment. And I love the way that she said our human nature of attraction and desire versus knowing Jesus and wanting to understand Jesus's heart. Like, what's the difference between our attraction to someone and like loving their heart?
Yeah. So it's
so good.
Okay. Yes, we're live right now. I'm looking at it on YouTube. We have a few people tuning in on YouTube. How's it going out there, YouTube? Let me know that you're able to see and hear this. Okay. Just drop a hi, hey, or hello in the comments. We are also streaming live for the first time tonight to the Worth the Wait Facebook group. How's it going, everybody? I know, you don't know Nicole or myself. My name is Rob Kowalski. I wrote a book called Why Waiting Works. And, and Nicole is much smarter and prettier than me. She's got her master's in family ministry, and together we help singles wait well, date well, and hit the mark in life and love. That's what we like to say, right?
Yes, well said there, by the way. Love that.
So yeah, if you're wherever you're watching from, whatever group you're watching in, drop a comment. Let us know. Let us know that you can see and hear us okay. And if it's your first time watching, let us know where you're watching from, because there may be other people in your area that we can connect you with. That's kind of what we specialize in, is really connecting like-minded people to do life together so that they can become the best version of themselves. Because it really does take it takes a village. It takes community to become the best version of yourself. But that's not what we're here talking about today.
It's really important, though. I mean, even in a topic just like this, it takes people around you, surrounding you, to remind you of things like you're beautiful in this way and in that way. So yeah, you need your tribe, no matter what.
Or just takes people to warn you of the fact that, hey, that's all they are, is beautiful. Like don't go for this person. Okay.
That's good. That's really good.
Looks like we have about 10 people in the Waiting Works community. Rochelle Johnston Vanderweer, first time here. Where are you watching from, Rochelle?
Hi, Rochelle. Nice to meet you.
Heather's here. Heather Rawls. Carol Palermo. Carol's watching from Austin, Texas, and it's her first time here also.
Woo. Yeah. Awesome. I'm in Houston. Just saying.
Yeah, we got some people in Austin, Carol. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later too, about City Fam and how you can be part of this growing movement. But tonight we're going to talk about beauty, and we really want to try to bring clarity to the balance of again, what our humanity craves versus how God wants us to look at people. And
wow.
I know.
Yeah, we've got Melissa, we've got Wisconsin in the house. Oh my goodness. Mwah. Hi, guys.
That's awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So I know this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I have strong beliefs about, but even as I was getting ready for tonight, I thought a lot more about the topic, and I'm excited just to talk about this. So we're really just, go ahead.
For me, I feel like this is a topic that I've really wrestled with. Like over the years, it's like there are moments that you really want to be beautiful, but then you also you look at it and you go, hey, am I being vain in this? Like, is this vanity? Where do I stand? And so that's really what I'd like to do tonight, is help create some clarity in that as well.
Sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of times religious people have made people feel shame for wanting attraction, for number one, wanting to be attractive. And then number two, for wanting to be physically attracted. It's almost like, should we feel bad about this? Because I know I'm supposed to be looking at someone's heart, but should I feel guilty about wanting to be physically attracted to someone? And my short answer to that question is no, you shouldn't feel guilty. That God gave you these desires and these urges, and they should not be denied. Now, that being said, you can get too far out of balance and put too much emphasis on physical beauty, and then it comes back to bite you. But you should not deny the fact that you are or aren't physically attracted to someone. So when someone says, they ask me, should I go out with a person that I'm not physically attracted to? I'm always like, no, you shouldn't. No. Not to say you can't get to know that person, because I do believe that physical attraction can grow or it can shrink. I've seen both happen.
So one of the things that I teach is that your physical attraction to somebody is an indication of whether that person may or may not be really right for you. There's chemistry matters.
100%.
Like, it totally does. Now, I think with that being said, there's some extremes like you were talking about. And I have a question for you. If we can get totally real in this, can we get real while we're live?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was at this event about a month ago. And we're at this City Fam event. We're all friends. We're all hanging out. We're on this like gorgeous lawn watching this big screen TV, lights everywhere. And this waitress comes up to get our drinks. And the guys in our group start having this conversation about this absolutely adorable 22-year-old waitress. And most of the guys in our group are mid-40s. Just saying. Okay. And I was like, what? You guys who are mid-40s are totally attracted to this girl who's like 22.
Yeah.
Help me with this.
Well, first off, physically attracted. Here's what my dad used to say. My dad used to say the eyes don't change. So even when you get old, your eyes still look at young beauty. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that works for both sexes. It doesn't mean that you should go out and marry that person, but your eyes don't change. You still are attracted to beauty. And I think that even when we're going back to what we were just talking about with the shame piece and how the church is, religious people, the church in general, let's just say, has made people feel ashamed of wanting to look attractive or be attracted to someone. And I think that the where we get hung up is when we confuse looks with attraction. That there's a big difference, because looks are subjective. To say someone is beautiful, some people find one kind of person beautiful. Somebody could find the complete opposite person beautiful. So looks are subjective. But when you're physically attracted, that's like saying some people like Brussels sprouts. Some people like, different kinds of fish or raw eggs or whatever. People like they have all kinds of different tastes. So to deny yourself like what you like, that's stupid. That would be the equivalent of when the church was telling people you should only have sex to procreate. Like you should feel guilty about wanting to have sex. No, actually, that's very biblical, is to have sex, not just to make babies, right? It's very biblical to have a lot of sex. So to say you should deny yourself, and only look at someone's heart and forget, if you're not physically attracted to them, you shouldn't be looking at that. You should only be looking at their heart. No, listen, God gave us that for a reason. And there are certain people that I really like to be around, and even just not platonically, that I'm attracted to. Like, I just like to be around them. I could go, we could just, it's easy. The friendship is easy. Like, so imagine that with physical attraction now. And that's really what you're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it doesn't mean that it can't grow, because I've seen it happen before where you might meet somebody and it's love at first sight and they knock you off your feet right away. Or you might just be friends. And then over time, you start to see them differently. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't deny the fact that you aren't physically attracted to a person at some point, whether it's right away or later. You shouldn't just start dating somebody hoping those feelings will catch up, because that's where people get themselves in trouble. And I believe that, again, that's part of the reason why the divorce rate's so high.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I have a question for you. Have you ever heard of something, and this is something we've never talked about before, you and I haven't, but have you heard of something called the linear attraction standard? Because when you were just talking a minute ago about Brussels sprouts and like different attraction styles, or different, like people being attracted to different things just the way that they have a thirst for different foods.
Sure.
There's something out there, and I would really love to fight against it if we possibly can, but it's called a linear attraction standard, and it basically says like, hey, if you're a mature woman, or if you are a plus size woman, or if you are a different colored skin or whatever it might be, then you're not considered by the world's standards attractive. Like there is this like picture of skinny and tan and blonde and wealthy even,
Yeah.
you know, and how that's the standard. I'd love to fight against that if there's a possibility. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I don't know how I feel about beauty standards. Actually, before we get into it, let's just give a few people a shout out.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm looking at YouTube. So I know Veronica Pacino is watching here from McAllen, Texas. Where's that at in relation to you?
Oh my gosh, it's not that far.
Really? Okay, Veronica.
Yeah. Hi, Veronica.
You got to hit up Nicole and go have a coffee with her.
Come on.
Laura Ranieri's here in Cali. We got somebody called 88 Here and Now. They said hi. Savannah Day says hello.
Hey, Savannah.
Somebody's from Canada. That's the 88 Here and Now. Okay, who else is watching? We saw some people on Facebook too.
I've got a girl on Why Waiting Works, and Rochelle, first time here. So glad you're here. Welcome to this group. We love that you're here.
Annabelle's here. I'm just looking at one of your comments. She said, we may have been bamboozled, y'all, because we were late.
Annabelle, you're not bamboozled.
You know I wouldn't do that to you, Annabelle.
So glad you're here, Annabelle.
Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, here's the deal.
Carolina's from Houston. Carolina, come hang out with me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with beauty standards, right? Like, standards are a good thing. You know, I don't want to get rid of beauty standards, you know, in the same way that I wouldn't want to get rid of somebody that was really good at math. Just because that person that was really good at math makes me feel stupid when I do math. Or maybe somebody that can play an instrument really good. They can play the piano. They're just born that way. And I can't play a lick. I don't want to say that they're not, you know, that isn't the standard. That is like, so somebody that's traditionally beautiful, it doesn't mean that they're going to be my cup of tea, but I don't think we should get rid of beauty standards because they give us something to measure up to, or kind of like an ideal to strive for. You know what I mean?
I'm going to challenge that because like, I think it's one thing to maybe say like, you at your best physical fitness, that's a great standard to have.
But that's not everybody's cup of tea, but yes.
Okay. So but that's a great standard to have, just because there is something beautiful about a girl who has taken care of herself that way.
Right. Health. It represents health.
Right. It represents health. It represents discipline. It represents a lot of different things that are like really important things in life. Now, when we start to talk about standards that are like, hey, a girl who has brown hair versus blonde hair, well, I'm not cool with that. Like,
that's different because that's subjective. That's so subjective. But I'm talking about like healthy, like maybe a healthy weight or, you know, body composition to their height.
Right.
You know, like then after that, it can go all ways because it could be short hair, long hair. It could be all kinds of things.
Yeah. Now, I would also suggest that it is important for us to talk about when we set standards, we can talk about like being intentional about the way you dress or being intentional about taking care of yourself. If you show up sloppy versus showing up put together,
right.
Like your put together might be, you know, ripped up blue jeans and all-stars, and that's totally cute and adorable. But somebody else's standard might be heels and a nice dress. So both of those are super gorgeous.
Yeah, it's what you can pull off for sure. But again, I don't think we should get rid of like, you know, and I think there's a pushback against that where people want to get rid of, beauty, and they want to put on people that, and that, I think we can go as far as like symmetrical faces, that their face is symmetrical. Not to say that there's all kinds of different body types, but are their eyes and their nose and their ears lined up? And there's certain standards that we have that are pretty much across the board. And we shouldn't get rid of those standards just because not everybody is able to, reach the highest level of those standards. Does that make sense? Sure. And I think that there's kind of like a push to do that, or a movement that people, giving out 5th place trophies, no, there's the person that wins should get the trophy. And that pushes us to be better. Because there's a standard of, someone physically fit, it keeps me from eating cheesesteaks every day. So I do want to try to get as close to that as I can, because I'm trying to be my best self. And I do want to present the best version of myself to the opposite sex, or to that potential partner when I meet them. But I don't want to just pretend like, they should just love me for me because I'm a Christian, and I do think that is something that a lot of believers do. And they just feel like they can let themselves go, especially after they get into relationships. They let themselves go because they just feel like, the person should just love me for me. And no, listen, at that point, the romance is gone, and
no, I'm not even going to believe that. I'm not even going to.
I don't think nobody has the right to let themselves go. I don't have the right to let myself go after I get into a relationship. And I don't think my wife has the right to let herself go after she gets into the relationship.
No, I just mean I'm not going to believe the romance is gone. I'm going to believe the romance can just last.
Oh yeah, no, I believe it can too, but I believe that it requires something on our part,
Oh, okay. That's fair. Yeah, I do think so too. But I think what ends up happening, and if this is just my take on it, but when we are taking care of ourselves, whether you're a guy or whether you're a girl, the thing that's just so attractive is when we feel best about ourselves, when we are striving and taking care of ourselves. And so we come across our best self, whether it's at work or the way that we dress or the way that we talk to people, whatever it might be. Taking care of ourselves translates into all of those different areas. And that's what's so attractive.
Right. Say that one more time.
That when we're taking care of ourselves, it translates into all the other areas of our lives.
Yes.
For example, when we're taking care of ourselves physically, it translates into the way we take care of our finances and the way that we talk to people, or how confident we are when we sit down, even at church, and sit down across from someone and we want to convey something. It really is just a matter. The attraction is the way that we are presenting ourselves. And when we take care of ourselves, we present ourselves well. No,
I love that. And it's not a mark of holiness to allow your physical appearance to deteriorate. And I feel like that.
I mean, think about it. Even God talks about how this is a temple. This is what we are supposed to be taking care of. Are we taking care of it? Now we're just using the physical as part of it, but let's also talk about just the way we dress, taking care of ourselves, getting dressed in the morning. How do you look? Do you look this way even when people aren't looking? Do you do that because it is a standard that you want for yourself? Or are you just doing it to impress people?
I think, absolutely. I think a lot of people, they're wrestling with this question, and this is what it all boils down to. Okay, being single, especially if you're waiting, is freaking hard. Yeah. It's super difficult. Yeah. Right. And in order to get to your best yes, you have to say a lot of no's. You're saying, because they're not your best yes. They might be up there. They're a good yes, but they're not, they're not your best yes. But then you start to think to yourself, man, maybe something's wrong with me, because it's been a long time. Like my mom last night I was on the phone call with her, and she's like, you got to just get out there. You got to give somebody a chance. You haven't met anybody that you haven't liked yet, all those girls, and you haven't met somebody. And then, I'm pretty steadfast in my ways, and I know that what I'm doing is right. But imagine people hearing that, and then it gets in your head, and you start thinking, man, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I'm too picky. This person, damn, they're good. They're a great person. And then that's where the temptation comes in to settle. And this is what will inevitably happen. I want you all to listen. This is probably the most important thing I'll say all night, is if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to inevitably you're going to resent them a little bit. You're not going to be your best self. You're not going to be as romantic or endearing or whatever in that relationship, because in the back of your mind, you're always going to know that they're lucky to have you. You know, because you're like, they're not that cute, or they're really not everything I wanted. And they're not going to force you to rise to be the person that you really could be. Because when you have somebody that's your equal, that you're really going for it for, like, you know, the principle of a muse.
Yeah.
Okay. A muse is someone that inspires you to be your best self. Like Napoleon with Josephine was his muse, and he went out and conquered lands and did all this stuff. Yeah. So if you get into a relationship with somebody just because they're a good person, you know, like, they're not going to force that juice out of you. They're not going to squeeze that best you out. And that really is where the diamonds are formed, because I'm going through this now where it's been a long freaking time that I've been single, and I'm waiting for my best yes. And I'll meet girls that are good, and I'm like, oh, and the temptation is there to just settle or take one because I'm tired of being alone. But then I'm like, no, I can't settle, because I know myself, you know, and I don't want to ever wonder if I could have, you know, been happier with somebody else if I would have waited a little longer. So I wait. And then what happens is, in that time, I work on my craft, and I push the needle far forward. And now it's a new book, and it's a church consulting company. It's all these things. And listen, but then I go home at night, and sometimes I'm lonely. But then I come into work and I'm like, wow, look at all this shit that I'm working on. Excuse my language, but I'm like, wow, look at all this. This is amazing. It's in that tension that's where the diamonds are formed. I was talking to Paulina today, and I don't want to put her, actually, I've already mentioned her name, but she was going through the same thing basically. And I'm like, listen, I get it. I didn't even go over my stepfather's house for Father's Day because everybody's coupled up, and I didn't want to be the one guy. I mean, I'm the single guy at every holiday, and it gets old. I get it, guys. Well, but I'm telling you, do not settle.
Yeah, I was actually just reading something not too long ago that talked about that. And normally I would have told you, like, that's a terrible decision. Go hang out with your family. But what I was reading was actually saying that there are real triggers in life that trigger us to settle. And one of those things can very well be our family members who start saying things to us. Like, for example, if you are working on fitness or whatever, and you have this grandma who constantly tells you that, hey, you put on a few pounds and you just feel bad about yourself, then one of the things it recommended was don't go see Granny for a little bit. Like, right. Get yourself back to that place where you really feel good about yourself. Like, that's not a bad thing. Other triggers would be like, you know, the way you go shopping, or for you, the way you go out and spend time with friends. If those are triggers, be careful of those.
Yeah.
You don't want to settle. And
Absolutely.
I agree with you. You can press into and accomplish so many incredible things because you don't want to, you don't want to end up in a relationship that's going to hold you back. You want the one that's going to propel you forward.
Right. I know, like, I don't know about y'all out there. I'm guessing that a lot of people that are watching this, if you're in the Waiting Works community or in Worth the Wait, or even if you're following on YouTube, you're probably the exception to the rule in the family. Like, I'm the only person in my family that's doing this. Everybody else did not wait. They are in relationships. Most of them, you know, are not married. I'm not saying that they're not in love. That, you know, that's for them to determine. But they're in relationships, and they did what everybody else does. They just, they dated and they had sex, and then they drifted into a relationship, and now they're in something. And I'm like, that's not what I want. I told my mom, I'm like, I'm not trying to do what everybody else in the family has done. I'm trying to do something completely different. I'm trying to wait until I say, yes, that person is everything that I want. And until then, I'm going to work my ass off on the things that God shows me to do. And, because of that, I'm doing way more than I would have ever thought I would have done with my life. So
let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because you're doing way more than you ever would have done with your life. Now, not everyone watching this understands how to make that shift.
Yeah.
And so I'd really like to talk about the fact that that's one of the things that we really want to teach you.
Absolutely.
We want to show you. And whether it is just about your finances, or just about your fitness, or just about the way that you walk into and show up in a room, or totally about your purpose and why you want all of these things. Or for you specifically know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for a girl who meets these certain standards.
Yes.
Now, some of us are, I mean, I've spent some time working on that for myself as well. Like what I am waiting for. I know exactly what I am waiting for. And as far as like people on this call, when we do Noble Reset, that's one of the things that we talk through and we help you get to is a place of here is what I'm looking for, and not just through your own eyes, because any of you could throw together a list of what you think you're looking for.
Right.
We want way more than that. We want what are the things that God wants for you? Like that's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, number one, when you start to understand what your purpose is and you start going after it, you walk different. You know, you just, it makes you carry yourself with a little bit more, self-confidence. So the person that I would settle down with now or marry is going to be far different than the person that I would have settled down with 10 years ago before I started working with coaches.
There for a second.
Sure. Say that again. Oh, Nicole froze.
I think you froze.
Oh, I froze, you froze. Oh, you froze again. All right. Well, I don't know who's coming through, but I'm looking at my phone. I'm trying to figure it out. But okay. Well, anyway, we're going to keep talking while we wait for Nicole to come back. Oh, there she is.
Oh, I'm back.
All right. I don't know what happened. So go ahead. I was talking about walking differently when you know what your purpose is. And I said, the person that I'm going to choose now to spend my life with is far different than the person that I would have chosen 10 years ago when I started working with coaches, because I know my value. I know my worth. You know, I am a much better version of myself. And not only that, I know what my purpose in the world is. So I'm going to be able to choose the right person to come alongside of me to help me accomplish that. A lot of you out there that are watching this, forget the beauty. The beauty is an important topic, but you don't even know necessarily what you were put on this earth to do or how you're wired, what kind of person you are, what you're, some of the things that we actually take people through a Noble Reset is, the assessments, your spiritual gifts, your love languages, things like that, so that you can make a smart choice. But I do think it all goes back.
So much more than even that.
Yeah. I think it all goes back to discernment.
So much more.
Good.
Boil it down to what? Discernment?
No, I said I think it all goes back to discernment though, but go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I was going to say it really comes down to like knowing the way that you were created and being able to like own it and be like, this is me. This is how I want to show up in this space because this is who I am. Yeah. And I actually like who I am because this is how God created me to be. So like rocking that is amazingly attractive. It doesn't matter what hair color you have. It doesn't matter like how you dress, any of that. Like just being able to own who you are.
Yeah.
And that when we do the course, there's a lot of that time that we spend on how unique and different you are. But then we also take that step of like, okay, where are the places we've forgotten this? Where have we like gotten to a place where we believed what other people say about us? Let's unpack that, unravel it, and get back to the person that we know that we're created to be.
Yeah, I love it. For any of you out there that are just tuning in, maybe it's your first time watching the stream. So Nicole and I have a 13-week program called the Noble Reset. And it's really a way for people to press the pause button on their dating life and do some work on themselves, where they're, take a 90-day challenge where you don't date intentionally, you work on yourself, and then you re-enter the dating world the way that God would have intended you to. And in that time, again, you're doing a lot of you're healing, you're fasting, you're praying, you're taking several assessments, and you're also working with Nicole very closely so that you can figure all these things out that we're talking about, your purpose and your identity and all these other things. And ideally, what we're believing and starting to see is kingdom marriage is being produced from the program. So if that sounds like something that you might be looking for, drop a comment in drop the word ready in the comments below. And then Crystal Cruz or Melissa Phillips will reach out to you and we'll get you on a call and see if it's something that we think would be right for you. But, why I said discernment is because for me, like at the end of the day, I revert back to this. Yes. Do I want physical attraction? 100%. Do I want a girl that loves Jesus? Yes, 100%. I mean, and I have some some non-negotiables, like I want her to have conservative values and I want her to be physically fit. And there's some other broad things. But at the end of the day, I have really good discernment because I've fine-tuned God's voice over the years. And I'm not going to get duped because even by myself, because I could dupe myself, right? Because I'm human and the heart's deceitful above all things. But why I said it goes all back to discernment, because I have even why I've dated so little over the last 10 years, it's not because of, not wanting to. I have wanted to. It's because I have good discernment and God wasn't telling me to do it. So for all y'all out there, I think sometimes you and I might make assumptions because we both do have good discernment from years of cultivating it. But that really is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of attractive people out there. There's a lot of people that love Jesus out there. There's a lot of physically fit people or whatever. But there's one person that God has for you. And when you know God's voice, he's going to say yes, and he'll give you that check in your spirit. And, not to say it right off the bat, you might have to take one step, slow step, one after the other, but you're going to continue to get peace. And then, of course, if you have some outside help, like a coach or somebody that you can bounce questions off of, that's going to prevent you from getting into something that you don't want to be in. We've had plenty of people that have worked with us. I don't want to, again, mention names, but people that have gone through the pain of a divorce and the expense of a divorce. And that's what we're really trying to help people avoid is it's like, hey, look, let's make sure the next person that you spend a significant amount of time with is the person that you're going to ultimately marry, the person, the one.
Right. So can I use an example for just exactly what you're talking about?
Yes.
I was working with a client today. Amazing, actually, incredible girl. I will not say names because I'd like to just get a little bit serious about her situation. And she has been single for about 10 years now and been in and out of some pretty solid, lengthy relationships. One in particular that she knew from the get-go wasn't right, but felt amazing. And like you say, you're not going to get duped even by yourself. I think the only reason why that is true is because you've taken the time to really step back and say, long enough. I mean, we do a 90-day challenge of no sex and no dating, but for you, you've done a lot more than 90 days. So let's be real. Back up far enough to be able to look at your life and look at your principles and look at the things you are looking, the things that you do want, and allow that list even to work itself out, to kind of sift and say, okay, these are the things I'm initially putting in this list, but really when it all boils down to it, I want these particular things. And on this phone call with this girl today, we had come through and done the original assessments on uniqueness, done the healing work of the timeline, gotten all the way to the part where we had gone through all of that and narrowed it down to some emotional needs that needed to be met, and identified in that conversation why she had been attracted to these other guys and spent years on them. Just being able to go through this made a world of difference. And she probably more likely will still continue to be attracted to that. But now she has this awareness of, okay, I'm going to be attracted to that. It's a good thing. But once I'm attracted, I need to take it slow and measure it under these other standards too. And that was a huge awakening, a huge enlightening, just an awareness.
That's awesome.
So she's going to, step into dating a whole different way after this.
That's amazing. I love it.
So good.
You got to tell me who it is when we get off the call.
Okay.
Get off the live stream. But yeah, I mean, let's look at some of the comments here and see if anybody's got any questions. So
Drew says, for me, a woman could be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, but a negative attitude will completely kill it.
That's so good.
So I can understand that it's normal for the same guy if he's super cocky.
Yeah, the most physically beautiful of women will appear unattractive to a Christian man if her beauty is coupled with immoral character. You think about Proverbs 11:22. It says, like a gold ring and a pig snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. Like, honestly, I could see a hot girl, and if she's got bad character, it's completely unattractive.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. But I also want to say, just in light of what we were saying earlier about how Christian people think that homely is best, the Proverbs 31 girl, I'm pretty sure she's freaking hot.
Right.
Just saying. Like, she has high standards. She's getting up early. She's making money. She's getting dressed in her purple. So I'm thinking she looks pretty amazing. Like,
Right.
she's not we don't have to be the reverse of that in order to be beautiful.
Absolutely.
And that's something I really am so glad that we can talk about here is, yes, beauty that's not coupled with godly character is unattractive. But I think godly character that's coupled with letting yourself go is unattractive as well. It has to be both of those create that. What I would love to be our linear standard is godly character and just taking care of yourself.
I love it. Yeah. Some people think it's spiritually, like it's spiritual to neglect your clothing or your hygiene. And I don't think that that's spiritual at all. I think it's the opposite, because if you look at Christ's followers, again, he called them disciples. It's the root word of the word discipline. So it takes discipline to go to the gym. It takes discipline to make yourself look good. You know what I mean? To be well kept and dieted, like you mentioned, and exercise and be your best self. There's nothing spiritual about, letting all that go. And
so
saying,
can we just identify that the beauty is in discipline?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, beauty is in discipline when it comes to our money, when it comes to the words we speak. Because let's be real, there's a lot of gossip and ugly talk that happens out there, or just like chatter that tears things down. That's not attractive either. So discipline is really the beauty.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love it.
I think it's even true, honestly, from a girl's perspective to a man. I am attracted to the discipline in a man who is disciplined at work, a man who is disciplined in the way that he speaks, a man who is disciplined in lots of areas of his life. I think that is extremely attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need more Christians like that.
Yeah.
As a follower of Christ, and if you are one out there, I strive to be someone that other people would want to be like. Like, if I'm going to make disciples, that's how I'm going to do it. I want people to see my life and go, man, I would like to have that. And then I could tell them about Jesus. I think there's too many people that are on the opposite, where they're just, let themselves go, and they're sloppy, and their finances are a mess. And then they want to share Jesus with you, give you a track and try to pray the sinner's prayer. And like, bro, I don't want what you got, for real. So it's very attractive. And it makes you more attractive, to the opposite sex when you are disciplined in general, I believe.
I think too, it also makes you, as a person who's just practicing some of those disciplines, it makes you want to do more. Like, whether it's spiritual or just even in like conversation, I find that the more disciplined I am, the more open I am to be vulnerable and to be authentic and to be real about things. It's when I start to find myself slipping, and honestly, I do it. Let's be real. When I'm failing in areas, I don't really want the whole world to know about it. Like, I start to sort of get in this like weird little self-protection bubble where I'm like, I don't really want everyone to know how ridiculous I'm being,
Yeah.
And so I think it's just good. This is good stuff. Yeah.
Carolina Zen said, yes, I did. I lowered my standard after 5 years thinking that there was something wrong with me. I think that's pretty typical, but there's not something wrong with you. It's just that your season of singleness is prolonged, and that's all there is to it. And we don't know why. We don't know why God lets us go through long wilderness seasons. I don't know. I question them all the time about it. I look at, there's a lot of,
I think that's a really important thing to talk about, Carolina, because I know for me personally, I struggled for a long time with not feeling like I was enough. Like, I was not pretty enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't fun enough. I wasn't together enough. You could probably put any word behind that, and I would have questioned it at some point. And I think that's really where Noble Reset comes in too, is we start to talk through and help you identify there are certain things that you are in Christ that are not shakable, and nobody can take them away from you. And you just are these things. He has given them to you. He loves you this way, and it is permanent and not able to be removed. And you can just stand on those things alone. And if you understand them and you know them, you cannot deny your beauty.
Right.
Now, beyond that, there's this uniqueness about who you are. And if you can get to that place where you're even able to celebrate the things that are not perfect, and you're like, hey, this is me. It's just gonna be me. Whoever is going to be in my life is just gonna have to deal with this, and then you just show up like yourself, and it's
Right.
fantastic.
That's
And
great.
that's attractive.
Authenticity is super attractive.
Right.
You
But
know,
it's hard to be authentic. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's hard for me to be authentic when I feel like I'm messing up a lot,
or if you feel insecure in an area, like
Yeah.
you're saying, like, but if you can be secure with something, even if it's quirky or a little bit off,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
different. It's different. It really is, because it shows confidence. It's versus you being kind of like insecure about it, and then it does
Uh-huh.
come off as something like, oh, a weakness, something that somebody
Right.
was. Versus if you're just like, that's just me, and somebody could be completely into that thing, and you own it. So I do think that that's an important fact of statement to point out. Rochelle Johnson was talking about once you begin to know someone's heart, it can affect your attraction to them. Someone you are initially attracted to physically, you can end up not being compatible with 100%. And this again is why waiting works, because
Exactly.
again, physical attraction. And I want to talk about this. This is actually important. Something I forgot to mention or wanted to mention was the 3 Ps. And I believe that the 3 Ps are physical attraction. This is the order that it should work in initially. Okay. Physical attraction is what gets you in the front door. Physical attraction, personality second, and then principles and beliefs third. But over time, it reverses. The order reverses. Then it becomes principles and beliefs, number one, personality two, and physical attraction last, becomes the least important thing. But to deny that physical attraction would be a mistake, because it has to be there at some point. It doesn't have to be there right away. Again, you can get to know somebody and see if it grows. I'm not saying you should date the person. I'm not an advocate for that. I don't think you should start dating someone, because I believe, and I don't remember what book it was I read, but it talked about when you're friends with somebody, you have two people's feet pointing this way. And then when you date, you point your feet towards each other. Now imagine that you realize you're not attracted to the person and you want to go back to this, but then that's going to be a problem, because you're going to turn your feet and they're not going to turn their feet right away, and then there's hurt feelings. And my goal is to have as big of a friend group as possible.
Right.
I don't want hurt feelings. I don't want to lose friends because I led somebody on. I don't want to run the risk of temptation and falling into sexual sin, because it's very easy, especially when you get lonely, because I'm craving physical touch now. And so like, it can be very easy to go over to somebody's house, just want to watch TV. And next thing you know, we're having sex. That happened to me, years ago. So I know it can happen. And so like, again, trying to manufacture a feeling that's not there, some physical, no, be friends with people and do friend things, go to public places together and see if it grows. But don't just start dating, hoping that you're they're a really good person. I'm hoping that I'll be physically attracted to them. I've often said, if you don't want to tear the person's pants off at some point, that's a problem, because you should be really physically attracted. You should be. Sex is an important part of the relationship. It doesn't have to be right away, but at some point you should feel strong physical attraction for that person before getting married to them.
Right. So I have always had this theory that when you begin to date with someone, you should start with a friendship. And in that friendship, you get to know someone's intellect. You connect with them intellectually. And then you get to know them as a best friend. And that's when you connect with them spiritually. So you get to have this like spiritual connection that you build into. As a best friend, you share some pretty intimate things, like a best friend would be the person who would go to you and they would get on their knees with you, and then you move into dating. And when you get to dating, that's when you really start to share a lot of your emotions with the person. And I tell girls especially, hold back the emotions for a while. There's a real thing called an emotional affair. Like, so until you're ready to really get serious with this man, until you're dating, don't go down the emotional road, because we want to do that so fast, by the way. And to be real, guys like it because they like that softer side, and so they kind of draw it out of us, like they want that. And then once you're married, you get to the physical. But I will tell you this: I'm dating, and I did not do it that way. And so I have to like think through, is there this out of the box way to do things? I think the biggest thing is really just hearing, and you said it earlier, hearing and discerning the Holy Spirit in this.
Mhm.
Like, what is God saying? What step is he telling you to take or not take? Are you supposed to move forward or are you not? And I think that is the biggest thing. These guidelines that we like give people, like the feet and being friends and then dating, or, friends, best friends,
Right.
dating, and then
Yeah.
engage. Those great things. We need those sort of ideas behind it. But at the same time, discernment is going to be your number one.
Absolutely. That really is trumps everything. And I just
Yeah.
want to kind of sum it all up. Everything that we're saying again, not to confuse looks with attraction.
Right.
Okay, that's what we're saying. Nothing wrong with wanting to be physically attracted. You should want to be physically attracted. What you're physically attracted to is going to be completely different than everybody else. Everybody's
Right.
got different tastes. You might like whatever, like you might like really skinny girls, you might like really big girls or really big guys, or you might like bald guys, or you might like, like whatever. But don't deny what you like. You like what you like. I mean, yes, their values have to be there. And that's the one thing that, like you can't say, well, I'm a Christian and I just really like guys that are bad boys. No, listen, that's not negotiable. I'm talking about physical attraction. Okay.
Well, and I
But
would like to
what
keep going.
as far as the looks go, though, that's all over the board. We're not advocating for any standard. So I'm not, because I was just reading Jenna's comment here, and she said a woman's body before, during, and after pregnancy can be very different. And as she ages, self-care can be a struggle for tired, overwhelmed moms trying to keep a human alive and work, etc. A loving spouse should love that woman through all of her post-baby sizes, 100%. It's not letting go, but prioritizing. Also, skinny people can have horrible and unhealthy habits and not be disciplined at all. True. There's many angles to look at this from, not just one. 100%. I agree with everything that you said. I'm just talking about from the outset, from the beginning of the relationship. There's people that you're going to be attracted to, and they might. I have a friend I talked to about this, and he, and I'll even give my own example of my own life. I dated really beautiful women that I didn't want to have sex with.
Right.
Because the connection wasn't deep. They were beautiful on the outside, but the connection wasn't deep, and I just wanted to go to bed at night.
Mm-hmm.
There have been other women that I dated that weren't nearly, if you go by like the typical beauty standards, wouldn't have measured up to them, that I was way more physically attracted to. So I'm saying, don't deny that. It's okay to want to be physically attracted to the person. I'm not saying that it's any particular set of beauty values. That's up to you.
Well,
But
what I would
you
really
should
like,
feel a strong draw to that person, and that is not wrong. That is not unspiritual to want that. But let's go back to
I'd like to really address, like, for the girls too, like we're talking about this attraction. I'd like for them to really understand that it's okay to want to be beautiful. Like, we look at this beauty industry and we have a ridiculous amount of money, $145 billion in global just skincare. That's not even cosmetics. That's like $438 billion. We have these major numbers of things that are spent on beauty products. And a lot of times, as a Christian woman, myself included, I thought, hey, for me to want to go and take care of myself like that, it's just straight vanity. And so what I think I'd really like for girls to know is there's a difference between vanity and taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
And taking care of yourself in that realm of discipline is really, it's good and right, and it's healthy, and it's a way that we should go. And it is attractive to guys. It does matter.
Yeah.
And it also changes the way that we feel about ourselves when we're around other people, girls and guys. When we show up in a room and we've taken care of ourselves, we come across a whole lot different. And
And
so I really want girls to understand that they don't have to feel bad about looking beautiful.
no, absolutely not. And let's be honest, we're all doing it. Every single person, even the people that complain about it, do it. Because what I tell women that complain about it, I'm like, I guarantee you that you have men in your life right now that would marry you. There's some guy that you know, whether you work with them or, you know, girls in City Fam. I'm like, there's a guy that likes you that would marry you tomorrow. But you're like, ew, no, right? So you're doing it. You're doing the exact same thing you're telling people not to do.
So I want to go to Amanda's comment, because this is good. Amanda has a great comment. She said, as a woman, it's easier to settle if you're not pursued by your ideal guy, which is what you're saying.
100%.
We are not to be the one who pursues, is what she's saying. It's taken me a long time to understand the waiting. If God hasn't aligned the right guy to pursue me, I'm meant to be single, or maybe just for a season, or maybe forever. And Amanda, I would say, yes, wait for him to pursue you. And I'll just tell you, like, from my own dating experience recently, it was shock and awe. It was not something that I was expected, but I can tell you is way more than I could ask and way more than I could imagine. And so all I want to say is, yes, wait for him to find you.
Yeah. Don't settle. I mean, that's all. And that's all we're saying is, listen, don't settle.
Yes.
Because God knows the desires of your heart.
Yes.
And, you know, and this is where it all goes back to discernment, which shameless plug for Noble Reset, 90-day fast. Many of y'all don't even fast. I don't even know how many. I guarantee you there's probably a large percentage of y'all watching this that don't fast on the regular. I've fasted 4 times already this year. Because when I need an important decision.
We're not talking about no food for 40 days.
No, we're not talking about no food, but we're
not talking about that.
We're talking about an intentional period where you stop something to go to God to get his opinion and his intervention on the subject. You know, so you want to meet a husband or a wife.
A wife, yeah.
You know, like where you're going to stop something that you like for 40 days. It's not a 90-day fast, actually. It's a 40-day fast. But you're going to basically.
But it's 90 days of no dating.
So it is a 90-day fast on one level, but you're going to go and get God's, you know, attention, and you're going to sacrifice something that you want for a period of time in order to get God to intervene on your behalf. So this is very intentional, what we're talking about. But where was I going with that? What did you say right before this?
You said shameless plug, Noble Reset. I was talking about Amanda's comment because I thought it was great. And I think a lot of girls do struggle with the idea that the guy who they really are attracted to isn't pursuing them.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, in Amanda's situation, this may be God's season where he has set you aside to work on some things so that you are this person who is settled and ready.
100%.
I'll tell you, God parked me for a solid year, said no dating, no nothing. And during that time, the list that I wrote for the guy that I felt like I wanted to end up with completely changed. And I would love to share it with you guys, but I won't yet. Maybe one day. But it is, you know, just wait, just hold out, you guys, and believe in the fact that God is the one who will align your two paths. That's something I feel like a lot of times we start to get disillusioned in, and we think it's just never going to happen.
Yeah. And every one of you out there should be praying that prayer. Don't awaken my heart to love until the appointed time. Because honestly, that I think is where people get hung up the most. It's everybody, I think, understands that there's a who. Right? Everybody wants to find their person, the one, the soulmate. So people understand that there is a person. They don't understand it's not just it's not just a who, it's a when. Right. Because God might not have you in the season to date. It's not like it's always dating season. I think that's a shock to people. They don't just think as soon as they get out of a relationship, they got to go out and find somebody else. No, that might not be the case at all. God might want you to do something in your singleness that only you can accomplish while you're single. And that's a huge shocker to people. Like, again, especially men, you know, purpose.
How long have you been single? How long?
I mean, first
How
it was
long have
6
you
years,
been single?
the last 10 years. I basically haven't really dated. I've been on maybe, I don't know, 5 dates the last 10 years, if that, with,
Right.
2 or 3 girls. It's super, super far and
So
few between. And it's because, and even then when I did it, I don't know, I may have been once or twice, I might've been forcing it. I do feel like I took steps that, a couple times I took steps, it was God, but it just wasn't supposed to be, a marriage. But God wanted me to do something. So it's purpose before
well,
person. That is so big for men to understand that Adam did not get Eve right away. He got a job. God told him to
right.
name the animals, take care of the garden. Eve came along later. So many men get into relationships before they know their purpose, and then they never figure out what their purpose is because they never harness their sexual energy long enough to figure it out. That tension that I'm telling you about while I'm waiting to say my best yes is the juice. That's what squeezes it out of you. Because it's like,
There is so much more that we can talk about.
yeah,
We can talk about this for so long. And
yeah.
we're just getting started on a whole other topic that I really want to like dive into, but we can't tonight. We
I
just
know.
can't.
So listen, guys. Oh yeah, actually, you're right. I got to jump on another call. But if you want to
I
know more
know.
about working with Nicole and myself on the Noble Reset, drop a comment. Drop the
Yes.
word "ready" in the comments below. We'll get on a call
Yeah.
with you. We'll see if it's a good fit, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Really quickly, Noble Reset, 13 weeks. You have lifetime access to it. There's how many different modules?
There's 12 different modules, and each one of the modules has about 6 different lessons, sometimes up to 11 and 12. So
Yeah.
it's pretty heavy work. I'm not gonna lie. This isn't for the light at heart. This is for people who are seriously wanting to find real love and they're waiting.
And then tell me about there. It's basically split into like 3 different phases, right? So the first phase is what? Identity.
Your identity and your uniqueness come at the very first, and then you get on a one-on-one call and we unpack that pretty deep. And then you go through some healing work, not easy stuff, I'm just going to tell you. And then you get on another call with me and we put these two together. We put our foundation and our healing, and we get to this place where we really understand some things. And then we do a 40-day fast. Well, during that time, we're really identifying what God is waiting, what God wants us to wait for.
Right.
So
Awesome.
it's amazing and heavy. And after 90 days, we want to launch you out into dating a whole different way.
Yeah. And I saw a testimonial from one of our clients today. I don't want to mention her name, but just sum up for me what she basically said. We won't mention her name.
Okay.
What did she say?
Oh,
Tell
you
me.
want me to do it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I basically remember she said, I've taken all these different programs. She's like John Maxwell. She named all these names. And she's like, I've gotten so much more, yeah, from the Noble Reset than I got from all these other programs. She's like, this was like the best coaching program that I've ever been through.
And she is like sharp, professional, incredible, like finance. She's just amazing. So for her to be able to say that today, it was just an incredible compliment. Like,
yeah,
big.
So if you're out there and you're waiting, maybe you're struggling through it. Like, I know the first 6 years that I went through this, I struggled through it. And it wasn't until I started working with high performance coaches 10 years ago that things came into focus for me. And I really started to understand why I was in this season and how to put it to my advantage, really. So that's what we really want to do for people through the Noble Reset. So if it sounds like something that you might want some outside help with, again, drop the word "ready" in the comments below. And if we feel like it's a good fit, we'll get you on a call with Nicole. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
All right. I got to roll for real. I've got a
All right.
really big meeting to jump into.
Okay. All right. Good talking. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.